I think if you look at the ticket counts right now, these are the early bets, typically not the bets of the casual fan. They usually bet on game day. So far, 78% of the cash and 68% of the tickets have been on the Chiefs. So my thought is that you're going to get more Cincinnati money than you'd expect for a 7 or 7.5 point dog, because I think Joe Burrow is a good story. And the sense was, and I heard someone, I think it was one of the PFF guys, say the following: hey, listen, if I can get 7 with Burrow, I'm going to take it. All right, this is a day or two ago. You know what? I can say that's square, but I'm not sure it is. I think there's something too. I don't want to lay over a touchdown against Joe Burrow. I think there's some appetite for the dog here also.
Yeah, I agree. And when we did the pod, I said if I see 7.5, I'm certainly going to get interested in the Bengals.
No. You said you'd make a play on it. So at this point, do you want to make an official play?
Yeah, I think I do want to make it.
It doesn't seem like you want to, though.
Listen, it's not something I'm thrilled to do, bet against Patrick Mahomes the way he's been playing.
But do you want to bet against Joe Burrow?
No. That's why I think attacking the total is the way to go in this game.
Okay, now we talked about we like Kansas City team total over. Now the question is, what about the total itself? It's 54.5. What most people, and this is both team scores added up. Now, what most people don't understand is that there are key numbers even in totals, and it's going to be a combination of 3 and 7, right? Because you usually scores in 3s and 7s in bunches. So what are historically key totals? 37, 41, 44, and you can keep extrapolating out. 51 is a key number, and 54 is a key number. Okay, this opened at 51. It's now 54.5. You're literally taking the two most key numbers, and if you bet early, 51 would have pushed. Now it's a loss. And now, if you bet over, now at 54.5, you're making literally another key number, in this case, a loser, when it could have been a winner. I don't think you can bet the over. It might win. But in the long term, if you're betting over 54.5 on a game that literally you could have bet at 51, it's hard. Now, listen, there's a difference if information changes, if someone gets hurt, or if there's a fundamental shift in the assumptions of the game. Line moves are natural. This is just based on opinion.
And if anything, the only news that's come out in that game is that Tyrann Mathieu is going to play, which should suppress the total.
That's a great point. It looks very likely he's going to play. That was meaningful. That moved the needle, and still it's going up.
But something about that Chiefs defense, they're uniquely vulnerable to what Joe Burrow does, and we've talked on this show about him being an elite processor. The Chiefs rushed 7 and left the secondary in one-on-ones.
So this was during the Cincy game?
During the regular season.
The whole season, go ahead.
Yeah, so when a team runs empty, which the Bengals run, which means no running back in the backfield, the Bengals run that more than anyone in the league the second half of the season.
So the Bengals run empty a lot. How has Kansas City done against empty?
What they do against it is they rush 7.
Which means they bring the heat.
And they leave their secondary in one-on-ones. Mm-hmm. Not a good thing to do against Joe Burrow. He eats it up. They've rushed 7 on 13.4% of plays this season. The next closest team did it on 8% of plays.
So Kansas City does the zero blitz, as it's called, almost double as much as anyone else.
Yes.
Burrow is exceptional against that.
Yes.
And exceptional against all blitzing. Mackenzie, pop up the stats on against the 5 blitzing or the 5 games against blitzers, as I set it up, is... Let's look at Cincy versus real blitzing teams that blitz a ton, and I'm going to say that is, and I think it's objectively just true, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Kansas City. That's the 3 teams on the Bengals schedule that blitz the most. And in those 5 games versus all the other games, there was a distinct difference. And that difference being, dun, 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 dun. Okay, is if we look at, did you know, that was me making that sound effect, by the way.
It wasn't the computer.
It wasn't the computer, yeah. So I'm just saying. Is the QBR in those games was 75 for Burrow. Now, that's something that would have made him number 1 in the entire league, okay? His QBR against the non-heavy blitzing teams was 46, which makes him below average. The distance between that is from the best in the NFL when against the blitzing teams, who are pretty darn good teams. So it's not like bad teams. Against the other teams, he's below average. Now, I think he's taken another step this year. I think against non-blitzing teams, he's not below average anymore. But over the course of the season, he has been. What we know is What we know is how good Burrow is against the blitzing teams. He killed them. And think about those Steeler games. They dominated Pittsburgh. They dominated Baltimore. And they beat Kansas City. So now it's Kansas City again. I like the over. I just can't like over 54.5.